All right, good morning, guys. It's Labor Day weekend, so you know what that means. We've got coffee, and we've got car parts, and we've got Milwaukee tools. And I decided I was going to buy a bunch of stuff for the F100s.
Hey Mom, look, the boys are back in town.
So today, the last box is going to be arriving, but we're going to go ahead and get started because I cannot wait. It's 10:30 in the morning, so I'm running super behind. So what we're doing today is I kind of toyed around with the ideas. Me and Alec talked about it a lot, and we're lowering the truck today. Nothing crazy. We're not slamming the frame. We're not putting bags on it. Just lower the back end, cruise to town. So what I have here is a 2-inch and a 1-inch. You can choose. Drop shackle for the rear of the truck. Take out the factory one, put this one in, bolt it up as high as it goes. Truck goes down, spring goes up. So yeah, these are Wolf suspension parts or suspension systems. I can't remember the name of it. Whoops, it's WULF, not WOLF. And I'll have these maybe linked in the description. They're pretty good, pretty well built, good welds. Nothing crappy on them. I don't see. The only thing I do have a complaint on is the Zerk fitting. It was not tapped. It was just the hole. They give you the fittings, but thankfully I had some taps for grease fittings, so I just drilled it out real quick, threaded it in, tightened it up, and now we're ready for some grease. So yeah, I already got the truck soaking down in PB Blaster, and yeah, let's get cracking on this thing. Oh, also, I have shocks coming. They'll be here today. Don't know when today, but they'll be here today. So there's that too. Okay, so anytime you're doing suspension work, there's a couple things you want to make sure of, especially lifting, lowering, leveling, whatever you're doing. First things first, make sure you scotch the front wheels because this thing will roll backwards when you jack the entire rear end off the ground. Second thing, you want to make sure that your tires aren't about 15-20 pounds lower than where they're supposed to be. So these are sitting at about 18 psi, and these are at 29, which is where they need to be. So I'm gonna fire up the truck, not the F100 because I got some engine stuff I want to do. Fire up the Tundra, get my little air pump out, blast those back up. Then we can take some measurements. Then we can see. But as y'all could probably tell, front wheels are scotched because the whole rear end of this truck's about to come off the ground. Well, probably not. Probably one side at a time, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, guys. So what we got, and by the way, these things right here, Husky, Home Depot, like 45 bucks. The bee's knees. I use that thing all the time. So much cheaper than buying anything really expensive. So this back wheel here, we're at 32 and a half off the ground. Front one up there, we're at 30 and a half. So it's exactly 2 inches. The other side's a little wonky because the front tire's sitting in a hole, but I'm gonna assume it's almost the same. So hopefully by the end of this video, the back will look like the front, is what I'm trying to say here. Having a brain fart. So now I'll jack this thing up. I got to figure out how I'm going to put my jack stands on it because this truck does not need 6-ton jack stands, but I might have to go get some depending on how much droop I can get. Because you got to have the suspension completely unloaded. And unfortunately right now it's fully loaded. So let's see what we can do. All right, so in typical fashion, my driveway's super uneven, so the passenger side is actually still touching the ground, or the driver's side's still touching the ground, but the passenger side's not. But that's fine. So we're gonna get started on the passenger side first. Um, Pop the wheel off, and then we'll dive underneath there, and I'll show y'all kind of what we got going on and what we're gonna do and what the process is. It's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. All right, guys. So the tire's off, and what we got here, we got this bolt and this bolt. Now with this bolt, that's gonna be kind of fun getting that out. So when I install it the next time, if I can, I'm gonna go in that way. For some reason it's backwards, and I'm gonna have to fight to get that thing out. I can already tell. So let's should we see if it comes loose? Sucker might just pop right free. I don't know. Where's my old ranch dressing at here? All right, there's one done. All right, so both of those out. Now I gotta go get me a mallet so I can knock these things through. All right, guys, so we got a little update here. This is gonna be, well, it's just hot in South Carolina today. Got the front one out, got the U-bolts out, got the shock busted loose, and that one's loose. So now, in theory, I should be able to set y'all back here and try not to throw my back out. Oh yeah, that's got some weight to it. All right, leaf spring has sprung. So we got the leaf spring out. I'm just gonna leave y'all. I'm gonna leave y'all going right here. It's a mess out here right now. So now, pop that sucker loose. There's a factory one. Put that bolt back through. And let's make sure we got the right one here. And it's hard to tell if this is the right one or not. Grab this other one. I think these might be identical actually. Yeah, they're identical, so that's good. So we'll just make sure we put them in the same way. Oh, do they go like that? That looks a lot better than that. Yeah, so we're gonna go with that. And I'm just going straight to the top. Bam. There we go. Easy peasy. Let me grab this bad boy. Thread it back on there real quick, just so I don't lose it. And now I'm gonna throw this thing back in. If I'd known I was taking the whole leaf spring out, I would have got some new bushings, but these don't look terrible, so we'll leave those. But I'm gonna throw y'all on a time lapse. We'll get this thing back installed in the truck. I'm not gonna bolt the shock back in because I got new ones on the way, and actually FedEx just drove by, so they might be here. But yeah, let's get the old spring slam back into place, shall we? Alrighty, guys. So we are all bolted back in. I messed up again. Y'all saw me take it back out. I had to put the shackle over top of the perch because there's not enough clearance to get it all the way to the top to swing that in. So that's what y'all saw me do there. Everything's bolted in. I got to torque everything to spec, which I got to look that up. And then we'll get the tire back on and we'll slap it back in. I'm a little worried that this is not the right shackle. So online, I couldn't find really anything about a torque spec. Everything I saw was 75 to 105. The installation manual for these shackles calls for 63. So I'm going to go 75 across the board and call it a day. So I'm actually going to take the other jack stand out too, set it on the ground because I want to make sure that this is actually right before I start tearing apart the other side. That down. And let's set it on the ground and see what happens. Oh yeah, it's definitely lower. It is way lower. Holy Moses. 2.5. Clearance in 32.5. Huh. So it actually, yeah, it's actually lower. It's not quite perfect, but it definitely dropped it a little bit. It's not quite how much I wanted, but oh well. They're installed now. No going back. So I guess we'll jack it back up on this side and get to ripping this one apart. Man, it's hot. It's very hot. All right. All right, guys. So what y'all just saw, let me take a measurement to make sure that it's even on both back sides, and the back sides are. I'm happy. Very pleased. So we are, so far we're within half an inch of everything. Yeah, so the backs are perfectly even at 32.5 and the front's at 32. And I can imagine just once I get going that's all gonna, settle, compress, everything will be good. So now I already got the back shocks unbolted from the bottom. Guess I need to grab my creeper and roll up under this thing and get them taken out from the top, so that way when the new ones get here I can just slap those in. But it's 12:30, so I'm gonna go grab some lunch, cool down for a minute. As you can probably tell, it's hot. But yeah, whenever the shocks get here, we'll throw all those in there, and the suspension should be good. I mean, the shocks are super simple. Through bolt on the bottom, your typical nut on top. Get those popped out, get the new ones popped in. Take this thing for a little test drive, hopefully. But we'll see. Right now, I'm gonna clean up a little bit and then go get some water, and something to eat.